Hello everyone, welcome back to Shdows Secrit. Tonight I'll tell you 3 disturbing childhood memory horror stories. Stories so twisted, they'll make you question every laugh, every bedtime story, and every shadow that watched you as a kid. Because sometimes the scariest monsters aren't a tea in the dark. They live inside the memories we tried to forget. The first story begins with a boy named Adam, who grew up in a quiet countryside village surrounded by endless fields and thick woods. His house stood at the edge of the forest, where the trees whispered secrets at night. As a child, Adam was lonely. No siblings, few friends, and strict parents who were always busy. So he spent most of his days playing near an old oak tree that had a single rusty swing hanging from it. That's where he met Blue. Blue wasn't another kid. At least, not a living one. Adam used to describe him as tall and thin, with a face that was always blurry, as if covered in fog. His parents thought Blue was an imaginary friend, like most kids have. But one night, when Adam came home late, his mother found deep scratches across his back, as if something with claws had dragged him. When asked what happened, Adam whispered, "Blue didn't want me to leave today." After that night, he started talking less, eating less, and sometimes staring out of his bedroom window toward the oak tree, mumbling, "He's waiting." His father tried to cut down the tree, but every time he swung the axe, the blade slipped as if something was stopping him. A week later, Adam's father was found unconscious beside the tree, his eyes wide open and his hair gone completely white. The family moved away, and for years, Adam tried to live a normal life. But even as an adult, whenever he dreams, he hears the creaking sound of that old swing. Sometimes, when he wakes up, his back is bleeding again, in the same old pattern of claw marks. The doctors say it's sleepwalking. Adam says Blue found him again. The second story is about Mia, a shy girl who grew up in her grandmother's large Victorian house at the end of a quiet street. The house was filled with antiques, strange furniture, and old portraits of people she didn't know. But what scared her most was the basement. Her grandmother always said, "Never go down there after dark." Mia could never understand why, until the night she heard humming. It was soft, almost like a lullaby, coming from below the floorboards. The tune was beautiful but unsettling. Every night it came again, sometimes with faint whispers. When she asked her grandmother, the old woman said, "Just the pipes, dear." But Mia didn't believe her. One stormy night, curiosity won. She took her small flashlight and crept downstairs. The air was cold and damp. As she reached the basement, her light flickered, and she froze. The basement was filled with dolls, hundreds of them, sitting neatly on shelves, staring straight ahead with cracked porcelain faces. The humming stopped. She turned to leave, but the door slammed shut behind her. Then she heard the sound of tiny feet tapping on the concrete floor. The dolls began to turn their heads toward her one by one, their glass eyes glinting in the dim light. She screamed and ran up the stairs, but when she reached the top, her grandmother was standing there, holding the door open, expressionless. Instead of comforting her, the old woman said, "You weren't supposed to see them." The next morning, her grandmother acted like nothing happened, but Mia never went back to the basement again. Years later, after her grandmother passed away, Mia inherited the house. While cleaning, she found an old chest hidden behind the shelves. Inside were tiny clothes, children's shoes, and what looked like strands of hair tied in ribbons. Beneath them were small bones wrapped in lace, each with a name tag, and one of the tags read, "Mia." Her heart froze. Suddenly she heard soft humming again, the same lullaby coming from behind her. When she turned, one of the dolls had fallen off the shelf and was sitting upright, smiling at her. She swears that since that night, no matter where she moves, she wakes up to find one of those dolls sitting near her bed. The third story belongs to Daniel, who grew up in a small apartment with his parents and his little sister. He had always been afraid of mirrors. There was one large mirror in his bedroom that his parents said had been in the family for generations. But Daniel noticed something strange about it. The reflection didn't always match. Sometimes when he brushed his teeth, his reflection would blink a second later. Other times when he smiled, it didn't. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but one night he decided to test it. He stood in front of the mirror, raised his right hand, and his reflection raised its left. His stomach twisted. He stepped back, and for a second the reflection didn't move at all. Then it smiled, slowly, unnaturally, stretching its mouth wider than humanly possible. Daniel screamed and ran out of the room telling his parents, but they laughed it off. The next day, his father covered the mirror with a sheet. But Daniel still felt something watching him. Every night he'd hear soft tapping from inside the mirror, like fingernails against glass. A few weeks later, his little sister began talking to herself in her room. When their parents asked who she was talking to, she said, "The boy in the mirror. He says his name is Daniel, too." One night, Daniel woke up and found the mirror uncovered again. The sheet was on the floor. As he stared, his reflection stepped forward. But Daniel didn't move. The glass rippled like water, and the reflection whispered, "You left me here." Daniel screamed, and the mirror shattered. His parents ran in to find the room empty, shards of glass everywhere, and faint handprints on the inside of the mirror. Daniel was never found. His sister stopped speaking after that, but sometimes she hums, the same tone Daniel used to whistle before bed. There's a fourth story, one that ties them all together. It's about a man named Nathan, who collected stories of childhood hauntings for his research. He believed that our childhood memories are not just fragments of imagination, but glimpses of another world, a world that only children can see clearly. Nathan visited hundreds of people, collecting their stories. When he met Adam, Mia, and Daniel's families, he noticed something chilling. Each of their childhood homes stood near an oak tree. In each case, there was mention of humming, mirrors, or dolls. And in every story, the children spoke of someone watching. Nathan began to suspect that these weren't isolated hauntings. They were connected. He returned to his hometown and started digging into his own past. His childhood was blurry, filled with missing pieces, and there was one memory he couldn't explain. A swing under a tree, a song in the dark, and a reflection that called his name. He went back to his old house, now abandoned, and found the mirror still in the corner of his childhood room. Dust covered everything, but the mirror was spotless, as if someone had been cleaning it. When he looked into it, he saw his younger self staring back, smiling. The reflection raised a hand and pointed behind him. Nathan turned slowly, and there it was, the same old doll from his past, sitting on the floor, its porcelain face cracked, humming softly. He turned back to the mirror, and his reflection was gone. Only the swing could be seen, moving behind the glass, back and forth, creaking. The next day, the police found Nathan's car outside the house, engine running, door wide open, but no sign of him inside. All they found was the mirror, shattered from the inside, and a small tag lying on the floor that said, "Blue." Maybe childhood isn't as innocent as we believe. Maybe those imaginary friends, those whispers from under the bed, those faces in the dark, they were never figments of our imagination. Maybe they were real, and we simply forgot how to see them. But they never forgot us. They wait for the day we remember, for the day we speak their names again. And when we do, they return. So tonight, before you fall asleep, if you feel something watching you from the dark corner of your room, don't look, because some memories are better left buried. But if you do look, and you see a familiar face smiling back, a face from your childhood, it is already too late, because what you remember remembers you too. Thank you for watching Shdows Secrit. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying stories from the shadows.